What would you do if your parents sold your car without asking and demanded you pay $8,000 for your brother's cancer treatment? By the end of this story, I discovered something about my family that changed everything. But first, let me tell you how my 23rd birthday became the day I finally learned to say no. I woke up on my 23rd birthday, expecting phone calls, maybe some texts, the usual birthday love. Instead, I got a call that changed everything. "Alex, we sold your car." My mom's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was telling me about the weather. I'm still half asleep, thinking this is some kind of joke. "What do you mean you sold my car? Your brother has cancer. We need the money for his treatment. Be realistic here." The room started spinning. My car, the Honda Civic, I saved up for, worked double shifts for, bought with my own money just 4 months ago. Gone. "Mom, that's my car. I bought it. I need it for work for school." "Alex, listen to me. Jamie needs surgery and chemo. We need $8,000 by next week or we lose the house too. You're going to help us, right? $8,000. By next week, I'm a grad student working 2 part-time jobs, barely keeping my head above water with rent and tuition. I don't have $8,000 lying around." "Well, you better find it. We've sacrificed everything for you kids. It's time you step up for your family." And just like that, she hung up. I'm sitting there, in my tiny apartment, staring at my phone, realizing I don't have a way to get to work today. Or tomorrow. Or any day. This wasn't just about a car anymore. This was about 23 years of being treated like the backup plan, while my younger brother Jamie got to be the star of the show. Let me back up and tell you who I am, because this story starts way before today. I'm Alex Green, 23 years old grad student at State University, working my way through a master's in engineering. I've got 2 part-time jobs, a tiny 1-bedroom apartment that I pay for myself, and until this morning, I had a car that represented everything I'd worked for. That Honda Civic wasn't just transportation. It was freedom. It was proof that I could make it on my own. I saved for 8 months, worked weekends at the campus bookstore, and evenings tutoring high school kids in math. Every dollar came from my own sweat. But here's the thing about my family. There's always been 2 sets of rules. One for me, and one for Jamie. Jamie's my younger brother. He's 20 now, and he's been the golden child since the day he was born. When Jamie wanted to quit high school to pursue acting, my parents hired him a private tutor and paid for drama classes. When he decided acting wasn't for him and wanted to try music, they bought him a $2,000 guitar and studio time. Me. When I graduated high school with a full scholarship to engineering school, you know what my parents said? "That's nice, honey. Make sure you get a job to cover your expenses." I learned early that asking for help meant hearing about how much they'd already sacrificed. So I stopped asking. I worked through college, took out loans, and figured it out myself. And honestly, I was proud of that. I thought independence was strength. But every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering there was this pattern. Jamie needed something, and suddenly my needs became invisible. My 18th birthday, I was supposed to get help with my college dorm deposit. Instead, that money went to new camera equipment for Jamie's photography phase. My 21st, the celebration got canceled because Jamie had gotten into some trouble and needed bail money. Last Christmas, I spent my holiday break working double shifts to afford presents for everyone. Jamie showed up empty-handed and nobody said a word. I started to notice things. How conversations stopped when I walked into rooms. How family photos somehow always featured Jamie front and center while I stood awkwardly to the side. How my achievements got a polite nod while Jamie's every small success was celebrated like he'd won the Nobel Prize. But this morning was different. This wasn't about favoritism anymore. This was about them taking something that belonged to me, something I'd earned without even asking, and then having the nerve to demand I pay for the privilege of being robbed. I needed to get to my tutoring session, but now I had no car. So I walked. 45 minutes in the Arizona heat, carrying my laptop and textbook sweating through my shirt. The whole way there, I kept replaying that phone call. Be realistic. What did that even mean? Be realistic about what? About letting them steamroll over me for the rest of my life? I was 20 minutes late to tutor Kevin, this high school junior whose parents pay me $30 an hour to help him with calculus. I apologized, tried to focus, but my mind kept wandering. Kevin noticed something was wrong. "You okay, Mr. Green? You seem off today." "Just family stuff," I said, forcing a smile. "Let's focus on derivatives." But I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about how this kid's parents valued my time and expertise enough to pay me well for it, while my own parents saw me as a piggy bank to break open whenever Jamie needed something. After the session, I called my best friend Luna. She picked up on the second ring. "Happy birthday, Alex. How's the birthday boy feeling?" I lost it. Right there on the sidewalk outside Kevin's house, I broke down and told her everything. The car, the money, demand, the cancer diagnosis, all of it. "They sold your car without asking Alex, that's theft." "But Jamie has cancer, Luna. I can't be the selfish brother who cares more about a car than his sick sibling." "Don't you dare turn this into you being selfish. Caring about your property and your future doesn't make you a bad person, and helping Jamie doesn't require you to be financially destroyed." Luna offered to pick me up, but I needed to walk. I needed to think. By the time I got home, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. "Mom, Alex, call me back. We need to talk about this realistically." "Dad, your mother told me about your attitude this morning. This is bigger than your convenience." "Jamie, can you please call Mom back? She's crying and I don't understand what's happening." But the text that really got to me was from my Aunt Rose, my mom's sister. "Heard about Jamie's diagnosis, so sorry. Also heard about some family tension. Call me if you need to talk." Aunt Rose was the only family member who had ever treated me and Jamie equally. She was also the only one who ever called out my parents on their obvious favoritism. I decided to call my dad back first. Maybe I could reason with him. "Dad, I understand Jamie is sick and I want to help, but selling my car without permission isn't help, it's theft." "Theft, Alex, we're your parents. We've provided for you your entire life, countless sacrifices, school supplies, food, housing." "Dad, you provided basic necessities that parents are supposed to provide. That doesn't give you the right to take my possessions." "Your possessions? Everything you have, we helped you get." I bought that car with money from my jobs I work while going to school full-time. You didn't contribute a penny to that car." "Watch your tone with me, young man. We're talking about your brother's life here. And I'm talking about my life. I need that car to get to work, to get to school, to live my life. How am I supposed to help Jamie if I can't even help myself?" "Figure it out. Family comes first. That's what adults do." He hung up on me. I sat in my empty apartment, looking at the spot where my car keys used to sit on the kitchen counter, and I realized something. This wasn't just about today. This was about every birthday they'd forgotten, every achievement they'd ignored, every time they'd made me feel like I was asking for too much by simply existing. I was done being realistic. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the ceiling, running calculations in my head. $8,000 by next week. That was more than 3 months of my combined income from both jobs. Even if I maxed out my credit cards and borrowed against my student loans, I'd still come up short. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not at Jamie for being sick, not even at the cancer. I was angry at the assumption that I would just roll over and accept this. The next morning, I had to walk to my campus job again. Another 45 minutes in the heat. I showed up sweaty and exhausted, and my supervisor noticed. "Alex, you look terrible. Everything okay?" I gave him the short version. Family emergency, lost transportation, working on solutions. "Why don't you take a few days off, sort things out?" I couldn't afford to take time off, but I appreciated the concern. At least someone cared about my well-being. During my lunch break, I met Luna at the student center. She'd been researching legal options all night. Alex, what they did is called conversion, taking someone's property without permission and selling it. It's a felony in Arizona if the value is over $1,000. Luna, I can't put my parents in jail while my brother has cancer. Can you imagine how that would look? Then let's talk about other options. Do you have the purchase paperwork for the car? Yeah, everything's at my apartment. Title, purchase agreement, insurance documents. Good. And do you have bank records showing the money came from your accounts? Of course. Luna leaned forward. Here's what I think happened. They're panicking about Jamie's medical bills, and they made a desperate decision without thinking it through. But instead of apologizing and trying to make it right, they're doubling down and trying to make you feel guilty for being upset. She was right. That was exactly what was happening. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about that question all afternoon. During my evening tutoring session, I kept losing focus. The kid I was helping with algebra had to repeat questions twice because my mind was elsewhere. When I got home that night, there was a car in my driveway. Jamie's beat-up Toyota. My heart started racing. He was sitting on my front steps looking pale and tired. The cancer treatment had already started taking its toll. Hey, he said quietly. Hey yourself, how are you feeling? Like garbage, but that's not why I'm here. He stood up slowly. Mom told me what happened with your car. I had no idea they sold it. Jamie, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I never asked them to sell your car. I never asked for any of this. When they told me they had money for treatment, I thought it came from their savings or something. We went inside and sat on my couch. Jamie looked around my tiny apartment like he was seeing it for the first time. This place is nice, really nice. You did this all yourself. Yeah, had to. I'm sorry. For what? For everything. For being the reason they sold your car. For all the times they chose me over you. For never standing up and saying it wasn't fair. I felt tears coming, but I held them back. Jamie, you being sick isn't your fault. And you were just a kid. We both were. But I'm not a kid anymore, and neither are you. What they did was wrong, Alex. Really wrong. He pulled out his phone and showed me a text conversation with our mom. Jamie, why didn't you ask Alex before selling his car? Mom, he'll understand. Family emergency. Jamie, but it was his car. He bought it. Mom, everything works out for the best. Alex is strong. Jamie, that's not fair to him. Mom, don't worry about Alex. He always lands on his feet. Arr! Reading those texts, seeing my mom dismiss my feelings so casually, something inside me snapped. Not in an angry way, in a clear way. Like suddenly I could see everything that had been hidden in shadows. Jamie, I love you. You're my brother, and I want you to beat this cancer. But I can't keep being the family ATM, and I can't keep pretending that what they did was okay just because you're sick. He nodded. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'm done being realistic. After Jamie left, I called Aunt Rose. It was almost midnight, but she answered on the first ring. Alex, honey, I've been waiting for your call. I heard about Jamie's diagnosis, and I also heard some other things. Are you okay? Something about her voice, that genuine concern, broke down all my walls. I told her everything. The car, the money demand, the guilt trips, all of it. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Your parents are scared and they're handling this all wrong. Aunt Rose, what should I do? I feel like if I fight this, I'm the villain who cares more about money than family. But if I don't fight it, they'll keep doing this forever. Can I tell you something, Alex? I've watched your parents treat you and Jamie differently your whole lives. I've bitten my tongue because it wasn't my place to interfere. But this crosses a line. She paused and I could hear her moving around like she was getting comfortable for a long conversation. When you were 16 and got that summer job at the hardware store, do you remember what you did with your first paycheck? I bought Jamie a birthday present and paid Mom back for my school supplies. Right, and when Jamie got his first job last year, what did he do with his paycheck? I thought about it. He bought himself a new gaming setup. Exactly. You've been trained to sacrifice for everyone else while he's been trained to expect everyone else to sacrifice for him. That's not love, Alex. That's dysfunction. Luna came over around midnight with coffee and a legal pad. We spread out all my financial documents on my kitchen table and started building a case. Okay, Luna said, here's what we know. You have clear documentation that you purchased the car with your own money. You have the title in your name. They sold it without your permission and without transferring ownership legally. Which means they committed a crime. But more importantly, for our purposes, it means you have leverage. We spent the next 2 hours going through my bank statements and receipts. What we found was shocking even to me. Over the past 4 years, my parents had taken money from my accounts on 6 different occasions. Small amounts, usually $200 or $300, always with some excuse about family emergencies or Jamie's needs. Alex, this is a pattern. This isn't about cancer. This is about them seeing you as a resource to be exploited. I felt sick. Looking at those numbers, adding them up, I realized I'd been subsidizing Jamie's lifestyle for years without even fully realizing it. So what's our strategy? I asked. Luna flipped to a fresh page on the legal pad. We're going to document everything. Then we're going to present your parents with a choice. They can make this right voluntarily, or you can make it official through legal channels. What does making it right look like? They return your car or pay you fair market value for it. They acknowledge what they did was wrong, and they agree to family counseling before any future financial discussions. And if they refuse, then you file a police report for theft and pursue civil action for the unauthorized withdrawals. The plan was scary, but it felt right. For the first time in my life, I was going to set boundaries with my family. Real boundaries. But first, I needed to retrieve some things from my childhood home. Important documents, personal items, and most crucially the folder where I kept all my car paperwork. When do you want to do this? Luna asked. Tomorrow night, they'll both be at the hospital with Jamie for his evening treatment session. I'll have about 2 hours. I'm coming with you. Luna, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're not doing this alone anymore. That's what friends are for. As we cleaned up the papers, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not hope that my parents would suddenly change and start treating me fairly, but hope that I could change how I responded to them. I was done being the family doormat. It was time to stand up. The next evening, Luna picked me up at 7:30. My parents' house was dark except for the porch light. They were at the hospital with Jamie, just like I'd expected. I still had my house key, but using it felt like trespassing. This place hadn't felt like home in years. You okay? Luna asked as we sat in her car outside. Yeah, let's just get this done. The house smelled the same. Mom's lavender candles and Dad's coffee. But walking through those familiar rooms felt surreal, like visiting a museum of my own childhood. I went straight to my old bedroom first. It had been converted into Mom's craft room about a year after I moved out, but she'd left a few boxes of my things in the closet. In the third box, I found what I was looking for. The folder with all my car documents, purchase agreement, title, insurance papers, maintenance records, everything that proved the Honda was mine. But I also found something else. A shoebox full of birthday cards I'd given my parents over the years. Cards where I'd written long, heartfelt messages about how grateful I was for their sacrifices. Reading them now made my stomach turn. Luna was keeping watch by the front window. Find what you need. Yeah, and some things I didn't expect to find. I moved to Dad's home office next. I needed bank statements, anything that would document the unauthorized withdrawals from my accounts. Dad kept meticulous financial records, and I knew exactly where to look. In his filing cabinet under Family Finances, I found statements going back 5 years. But what I'd discovered made my blood run cold. They'd been taking money from my accounts regularly, not just the 6 times I'd noticed. Small amounts, $20 or $50, always on months when Jamie had some new expense. Guitar lessons, photography equipment, car repairs for his Toyota. The total was over $3,000. But the worst part was a handwritten note in Dad's ledger, Alex Emergency Fund, available as needed for Jay's expenses. They'd literally been treating my savings account like a slush fund for Jamie's wants and needs. Alex, Luna called softly from the living room. Someone's here! My heart stopped. A car was pulling into the driveway. But it wasn't my parents' car. It was Jamie's Toyota. Back door, I whispered to Luna. Go wait in your car around the block. I'll handle this. She squeezed my hand. Text me if you need backup. Jamie came through the front door, just as I was stuffing the financial documents into my backpack. He looked surprised, but not angry. I thought you might be here, he said. Treatment got cancelled. Some equipment malfunction. I'm just getting some of my things. He nodded, looking around the living room like he was seeing it differently too. Find what you were looking for. I showed him the bank statements, the handwritten note about my emergency fund. His face went pale. Alex, I had no idea. I swear to you, I never knew they were taking money from your accounts. I believe you, but Jamie, look at this number. $3,000 over 4 years. That's not counting the car. He sat down heavily on the couch. God, I feel sick. Not from the chemo. From this. You didn't ask for any of this. But I benefited from it. Every time they paid for something I wanted, I just assumed they had the money. I never asked where it came from. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Jamie looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Determination. What are you going to do with all this evidence? I told him about the plan, the documentation, the ultimatum, the potential legal action. Good, he said. Do it. Jamie, no, I'm serious. Do it. I'm tired of being the excuse they use to treat you like garbage. And I'm tired of being treated like I can't handle the truth about money. He stood up and walked to the kitchen. When he came back, he was holding an envelope. I want you to give this to them along with whatever you're planning to give them. What is it? A letter telling them that I don't want any financial help that comes from hurting you, that if they can't afford my treatment without stealing from you, then we need to find other options. I felt tears coming again. Jamie, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my big brother. You've been protecting me our whole lives, even when I didn't deserve it. It's time I protected you back. We hugged, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were actually brothers, instead of competitors, for our parents' attention. There's one more thing I need to do before we leave, I said. I went to the kitchen table and spread out all the documents I'd gathered. The car papers, the bank statements, copies of the unauthorized withdrawals, everything. Then I wrote a letter of my own. It was short. It was clear, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever drawn a hard line with my parents. When I finished, I left everything in a manila envelope on the kitchen table where they couldn't miss it. Jamie read over my shoulder as I sealed it. Think they'll actually read it? They'll read it. Whether they'll listen is another question. As we left the house together, Jamie turned back to look at it one more time. You know what's weird? I'm scared, but I also feel free. I knew exactly what he meant. I woke up to my phone buzzing like an angry wasp. 17 missed calls, 42 text messages, all from my parents. Mom, Alex, what is this envelope? Call me immediately. Dad, your behavior is completely unacceptable. Family emergency and you're worried about paperwork. Mom, we raised you better than this. Call us. Dad, if you don't call by noon, we're coming to your apartment. But the text that mattered most came from Jamie. They read everything. Dad threw the envelope across the room. Mom cried. But they read it all. Thank you for standing up for both of us. At 11:30, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Aunt Rose standing there with a man in a suit. Alex, honey, it's Rose. I brought someone I'd like you to meet. The man turned out to be David Chen, a family law attorney who specialized in financial disputes between relatives. Aunt Rose had called him after our conversation. Your aunt filled me in on the situation, David said. I've seen cases like this before. The good news is you have excellent documentation. The challenging news is that family financial disputes can get messy fast. What are my options? We can send a formal legal demand letter first. Give them 30 days to return the car or provide fair compensation, plus reimbursement for the unauthorized withdrawals. Most families prefer to settle privately, rather than have these matters become public record. And if they refuse, then we file a civil suit and potentially criminal charges. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. At exactly noon, my parents showed up. I could hear them arguing in the hallway before they even knocked. I opened the door to find them both looking exhausted and angry. Alex, Mom started, we need to talk about this ridiculous overreaction. There's nothing to discuss unless you're here to return my car or write me a check. Dad pushed past me into the apartment. Your brother has cancer and you're worried about money. I'm worried about being treated with basic respect. There's a difference. For the next hour, we went in circles. They denied wrongdoing, insisted everything they'd done was for family, accused me of being selfish and ungrateful. But something had changed in me. Their words didn't hit the same way anymore. I stayed calm, stuck to facts, and refused to be guilted into backing down. Finally, Mom broke down. Fine, we'll get you a replacement car. But you need to drop this legal nonsense and help us with Jamie's medical bills. The legal issue gets dropped when you make full restitution for everything you took. And I'll help with Jamie's bills if and when I choose to not, because you demand it. Dad's face turned red. Who do you think you are talking to us like this? I'm your son who's tired of being treated like an ATM. Oh, they left angry, but they left knowing I wasn't backing down. 2 weeks later, I got a text from Dad. Your car replacement is at Henderson Honda. We also transferred back the money from your statements. This better be the end of it. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was acknowledgement. More importantly, it was respect. Jamie's treatment is going well. We text regularly now, real conversations about life and dreams and fears. Not the surface-level small talk we used to make. I still help with his medical expenses, but on my terms. I contribute what I can afford when I can afford it because I choose to. Not because I'm expected to sacrifice my future for his present. My relationship with my parents is different now. More distant, but also more honest. They're learning to ask instead of demand. I'm learning to say no without guilt. Last week was Jamie's birthday. For the first time in our lives, he called me first. Not to ask for anything, just to talk. You know what's funny, he said. Ever since you stood up to them, they've been treating me more like an adult too. Like they finally figured out that babying me wasn't helping anyone. 6 months ago, I thought being realistic meant accepting whatever my family dished out. Now, I know that being realistic means recognizing that love doesn't require you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. That Honda Civic was just a car. But fighting for it taught me something invaluable. Sometimes, the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who need the clearest boundaries. I'm Alex Green, and I'm 23 years old. For the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am and what I'm worth. And that's a birthday gift no one can take away from me. What do you think? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who expected you to sacrifice everything for their priorities? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe for more real-life drama stories. Sometimes, the most important battles we fight are the ones that teach us to value ourselves.